welcome once again to Living and Active. I guess this is be Living and Active squared, because this is also going to be the introductory video on the brand new Living and Active live playlist. Please excuse the background noise. Actually, don't excuse it. I make no excuses for it. That's my coffee percolator. If you got a problem with the coffee percolator, you and I are going to have some coffee, or not if you don't like coffee. Anyway, by the way, new subscriber to this channel that I was just made aware of today. I'm not going to give out his name or whatever. He will, I believe, make himself known around this channel as he's comfortable with doing. But I believe, if evidence over on his channel is interpreted correctly, I believe that he is actually a blind musician. So I wasn't actually going to do. Why is the framing is so jacked up on this? Okay, the lighting's terrible, framing's messed up, whatever. I don't care. Anyway, one of the perks of being in a wheelchair, I can adjust the framing as necessary. I feel kind of like a chicken when you hold it and you're running around in a circle and its head doesn't move, the rest of its body does. Anyway, so I would like to say, for anybody that, okay, I need to backtrack because I lost what I was going to say already. I wasn't going to do, in case you see them, yes, these are my actual wrists. These are the ones God gave me with skin. I'm not wearing any kind of wrist support at the moment because I'm letting the skin breathe. I'm having some issues with dry skin today, so I need to not be wicking moisture away from my skin any. But anyway, so I wasn't going to do a playlist for Living and Active Live because the point of Living and Active Live is being live in person and all these other things at the gatherings that we have on the physical locations that have been able to be established. The first scheduled meeting was yesterday. Absolutely nobody showed up, but that's fine. There were some things that needed to be done. I did pretty thorough cleaning and some maintenance work on the loaner wheelchair that the library has on site for their patrons to use as they come in. And then I was able to actually look at different aspects of the environment that the gatherings would be taking place in and see what can be helpful for people that are newly injured, that are just getting used to wheelchairs, things that might be available to deaf or hard of hearing participants, and communicating with other people who maybe only know a little bit of sign language or don't sign at all. Got some of that worked out. So even though nobody was there, there was still progress made on improving or building, shall I say, what's going to be there for when people do show up. I don't know what's going on with the original Fenimore site that I had selected. I put in a request with the appropriate people for the student lounge at Southwest Tech. It's called Charlie's. There's a really cool big old ramp that goes down from the entry level floor into basically like a rec room basement type thing. that the students there have the ability to use. And I had specifically asked if I could use uh, that location for at least some regular Living and Active uh, gatherings, because I want there to be at least one environment that is not just suitable for leisure, like, not leisure. We get enough leisure time, but I mean like enjoyable, like recreation, that kind of thing. Things like pool tables or whatever else is around there. I've forgotten what's in there, but there's all kinds of activities and games and stuff to play. Um, there's, for it might be good for those who can. Uh, there's giant bean bags out in the middle of the floor, and if a wheelchair user would want to um, transfer out of the wheelchair and get positioned on the beanbag with the help of their care provider, of course, whoever's there with them, their support people. Uh, and it would be awesome just to be able to come out of the wheelchairs, I think, a group of us, and sit in something that all of us would be able, or lay or whatever, get positioned in, something that we would all be able to take advantage of. And then we could just kind of normalize, you know, the different kinds of disabilities being in the same space, not being separated by, well, some of them are standing, some of them are in wheelchairs. And plus, like I said, there's the whole leisure recreation thing that I wanted to do in there. And so that's why I had my mind set on it. I heard back from the facilities people that the overseer, director, whatever, of the lounge had approached them, and their offer to me was of a boardroom, a meeting room. Uh, all the IT that I wanted, all the audio, video that I wanted, and everything else. They're very gracious. They were willing to do whatever to help me. And it's like, I don't think you guys understood, or there was a disconnect somewhere in the information that you've gotten. And I went about and I explained everything. And then I realized I haven't even done that here. So, what I was saying about the this whole process leading to starting the playlist is, we have this new subscriber. I do believe he is blind or visually impaired to some extent. Um, and so I want to be able to. He lives very far away. He doesn't live anywhere near where all this is happening. Um, and he left a message on, I think, a post that I had written about Living and Active Live, where he said something like there wasn't anything. He wished he could join the Living and Active gatherings, but he's way too far away. I don't know where he's at. I will probably explore that at some point. But I have a there's a because of what happens to any kind of interaction that has to do with disabled people, where in order to be all inclusive and all this other stuff, you have to provide remote access. You've got to be able to let people, or you don't have to, it's not a law or anything, but most people do this. They say, oh, we're having a party, and whoever can show up in person can show up in person. Uh, and then anybody who wants to watch can come in from, they can participate remotely from their laptop or whatever. And there are many, many problems with that. One, I can't think of anything uh, more uh, exclusive to both people, the people that can be there and the people that can't, than interrupting what should be a free-flowing, informal, and unscripted thing with technology and with a big screen. And now all of a sudden everybody has to sort of orient themselves towards in order to not be disrespectful to the people that are watching. And then the people that are watching have to be able to take turns joining in conversations, whatever conversations are happening in person have to stop in order to let that happen. No, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that to the people that are on site. I'm not going to do that to the people who would be trying to participate, um, but they aren't able to be there. That's why I'm trying to launch this in 3 different sites across this region simultaneously, pretty much. But I also don't want to uh, exclude people that have a genuine interest in um, just being able to interact with fellow disabled people that think on these things, that have these considerations or whatever. And so I want there to be able to be a Living and Active playlist, um, a Living and Active Live playlist. That's what I'm going to call it, Living and Active Live. And then that playlist, that name, Living and Active Live, I might figure out how to, because this all depends on this. This is the one thing where I'd have to be like, it's kind of dependent on channel growth. YouTube will not let somebody go live. You're about to find out at 7 p.m. 3 times, because now my clocks are pretty much in sync. That's my oldest clock right there. It's from 1908. Then you're about to hear 2 much louder clocks. See which one goes first. They're not perfectly in sync, and sometimes they come a little bit out of time. And there's a reason I'm doing this. I promise you. For the blind and the visually impaired, descriptions of sounds, what can be heard in the environment, are crucial. That's why I mentioned that the gurgling sound off to the side of the camera is a percolator. It's a coffee pot. I think my oldest clock might be a little bit farther out ahead than what I thought. So, in keeping with this, here we go. That one's my newest clock. That was from 1980, I believe. That's a Commodore that's in my bedroom. It's a mechanical clock. It's got a 38-day movement to it, which means I only have to wind it once a month. The next one you're going to hear is a 31-day Lindell clock from 1965. And then the first one you heard was my oldest clock, 1908. Something I can't remember. That's an 8-day movement, so I have to wind that every few days. But now all the clocks are in agreement. It is 7 p.m. So the channel's got to grow a little bit because YouTube won't let me do lives or whatever unless I get a certain amount of viewing hours and everything else. Because it's YouTube. So while I'm waiting, I actually want to do videos where I am doing as much as I can to make a friendly space on this channel specifically for other disabled people. And yes, I already have Rolling Towards Eternity, but that's more like my perspective as a quadriplegic from a wheelchair. I want there to be something that's not specific to, mobility or neurodegenerative chronic illness type things. Something that that can be enjoyed and participated in by various people with various disabilities. So I'm going to hear in this introductory video, if you are blind, visually impaired, and you use adaptive equipment, screen readers, things like that, please let me know, because I don't know what sort of things I can add to this playlist or to the videos that will be on this playlist for you to be able to take um, greater benefit from them. Um, I don't know. Right now, I look like I'm in some sort of edited um, setting for videos. I'm not. I'm just in my kitchen with my oven light shining on my face. My glasses are reflecting the glare back towards the camera. My skin is very pale, and everything behind me looks almost black, but it's just really dark behind me because I don't have any other lights on in this part of the apartment. Um, so yeah, but those are the calling. Here are the calling cards for living an active life. No remote participation. It will not be turned into. It's not going to be turned into a cheaper um, uh, disability convention. I'm not going to have a whole bunch of vendors and organizations and institutions and programs coming through and selling their stuff to the people that come to the gatherings. That's not it. That's why I'm calling them gatherings instead of meetings. It is literally the express purpose is to make friends and learn from the friends you make. So there's no room in there for uh, social programs or any kind of um, whatever. There's just a lot of things that people want to heap onto anything that's for disabled people that make it very unfriendly towards disabled people that are just trying to meet other people like themselves and learn from each other how best to get along, to be friends, to integrate in their communities, and to help each other. Like one of the things I thought of yesterday in the meeting of zero attendance is um, learning how to do assistive pushes, like one person in a wheelchair, manual wheelchair, having someone that's having a hard time getting around, getting behind someone that's fatigued or whatever, and basically walking with them, getting behind and pushing, or other ways of helping each other. I've also considered, and maybe my new subscriber, I'll say your name as soon as you tell me it's okay to say your name. But until then, I'm not going to say it. Um, how would this be? I was thinking if a blind person in a manual wheelchair grabs hold of the handlebars of the manual wheelchair, almost like they're going to push the wheelchair, but the person controlling the wheelchair, the person in the wheelchair, would actually be leading them around. Um, I think that would be a good thing for developing like trust and those kinds of interactions. I also think it would be helpful for wheelchair users who have any kind of upper body strength at all to get used to rolling at a pace that people can comfortably walk beside them. I'm not used to it. I don't have anybody that regularly walks beside me. So I have no idea how fast I'm going compared to how people walk. So, plus, I don't know, I just think it would be an interesting thing and maybe a beneficial thing to be able to do things like that because nobody has written a rule anywhere that says that we're only allowed to have one disability. And this is why they keep telling people all over the place. This is why I want participation from deaf and hard of hearing people, blind and visually impaired people, people with cerebral palsy, people with spinal muscular atrophy, quadriplegics, paraplegics, uh, uh, even like part-time wheelchair users, ambulatory. Um, I'm probably missing even just general classifications, I guess, of disabled people because there's all kinds of stuff. But just learning from each other. Um, so that we can get out of this. Well, okay, Mr. Quadriplegic, you have your wheelchair. That's the only thing you're going to need in life. You have no further issues, and since you have no further issues because I decided so, um, go and be happy and well adjusted, and let us know if anything breaks, and we may or may not cover it, but we probably won't. So get ready to spend a lot on just being able to move around. Um, but that kind of seems to be the thing, like people are like, well, oh, that amputee, he's got a prosthetic, he's not disabled anymore. Deaf people, they have their own language, they're not disabled anymore. The wheelchair people who use wheelchairs, they have ramps now in a lot of buildings, so they're not really disabled anymore. And that's the problem with this line of thought that says you're only disabled because you're living in a world that's not built for you. No. You're disabled because there are things you cannot do that people who are not disabled take for granted. Okay? So, for instance, they could build a ramp to every building on the planet, but I'm still not going to be able to get up and stroll around to look at things, reach up on high shelves, stretch my legs, do any kind of crazy happy dances while waiting in line. There's a lot that you lose, culturally speaking, that able-bodied people can just randomly do without even thinking about it, that adds benefit to their lives and the lives of those around them. Now, I can, if I wanted to, I could take this chair, I'm rolling back away from the camera, and I could do a little bebop type thing, do a little shoulder sway and everything if I really got bored or whatever. But I mean, it's not the same thing as some of the more grandiose gestures that I could have done if I had the mind to do them back when my legs were actually working. Uh-huh. And this is for the deaf and the hard of hearing. Sure, they have sign language, whatever, and they have lights for to replace the sounds of alarms and things like that. But all of that is only good if they're in a metropolitan built-up area and the power's on. In the middle of a blackout, now they can't see and they can't hear, and that brings me to very handily to the struggles faced by the deafblind. And you have blind people, yes, they have Braille, yes, they have these screen readers and everything else, but most of that is also technology dependent. Who knows how to help anybody in these situations once the power fails? Once the technological adaptations start failing or become unsustainable or whatever, then what's the response there? Well, they had their chance. They had the thing that was made to make whatever the big missing thing was. So now they're just, that's all they get. And I also don't want Living and Active Live to turn into... I'm not being careful with how I say this. I'm trying to be considerate with how I say this. I have a great appreciation for the advocacy work that is being done, or has been done in the past, and that is currently being done by disabled people for disabled people to get non-disabled people thinking about some of the very solvable things that we go through. Just like anything else, though, I think disability advocacy can sometimes go too far and makes enemies of the very people we're trying to gain an audience with. So I'm not gonna. I will advocate for the natural integration of disabled people becoming adjusted to being disabled, learning how to interact with other disabled people and caregivers, not just their own, across other disabilities for the overall health of the community in general. But if you're looking in terms of the overall health of the community in general, you also have to deal with the considerations of the local business owners. There are plenty of shops around here that would probably be cool and interesting to check out, but their facilities, I know if I probe deeply enough into them, their facilities wouldn't pass ADA muster. So rather than cause a problem by insisting on going into those things, if I see the owners of these buildings outside of their shops, I'm very friendly with them, whatever, but I can't make use of their space. So I order my life so that I don't need to make use of their space. One big thing that in this town that I live in is the work of getting ADA compliant restrooms in the public use memorial building. It has a huge gym that's used for all kinds of events in this city. All kinds of sporting events. There's even wheelchair basketball things that happen there. But there's no accessible wheelchair accessible restroom in it. So, and they keep saying, well, yeah, this is a great idea. This Living and Active thing that you're doing, this is a great idea. You can always, sure, you can have events here in the gym of the memorial building, and I have to tell them, no, I can't. I can't bring a bunch of disabled people into a building that has no accessible restrooms and tell them that they have to shoot across Lincoln, which is our main drag, and connects three major highways that run through our area. That happens to be our main street. And it's not a fun place to have to try to go across, especially if you're distracted by the fact that you've got to deal with your bowel bladder issue. So I'm not gonna gather a bunch of disabled people there just to have to send them across Lincoln over to the Quick Trip, which is a convenience store gas station. If you don't know, it's a very nice ADA accessible bathroom, but it's not. That's not going to happen. I can't do it. We are currently waiting. If you don't know, the city is currently waiting on our library annex, which is under construction. It's looking very nice. The elevator shaft has been completed. The superstructure on the addition has been completed. They've actually bricked up one wall. Obviously, all of the groundwork and everything has been laid. The footings, the basement's been poured and everything. They're starting coming up with stones on one side, and the decks for the floors. I think those are pretty much complete. So that's coming along nicely. That's going to have many accessibility features and everything else. All kinds of things, not even just for people with wheelchairs, but also things for the deaf, hard of hearing, blind, visually impaired. So I'm very excited, very excited to have that going. And then once that's open and complete, obviously, then sure, Living and Active Live can have a presence there. But in the meantime, I was wanting to get something else started somewhere in this city, and there's just not a whole lot of options. There really aren't. But I'm trying. I'm working on it. But that's the thing. This is the amount of work that is taking just to find, just to get something in place where disabled people can in more than one or two at a time, because most places are like, yeah, we're accessible, and you find out that once you get one or two wheelchairs in there, or you get a wheelchair and someone that uses a white cane or something, because the interactions between those two get dangerous sometimes, because we move faster than people are that are walking, and it's much faster than the tap through rate of the white cane to the blind person that uses a cane to get around and navigate. And it's that's why I'm actually looking forward to being able to get to know some blind people and being able to move around safely for myself and for them in an environment that's shared with blind people. This is where I got the idea for having a blind person, quote unquote, push the wheelchair when really they're being led by the wheelchair. That's how that came about. But it's really difficult to try to uh, because people, able-bodied people, uh, think they know the narrative. They think they've heard enough disability advocacy where they pretty much assume there's a script they assume that we're all sort of reading off of, and so they start answering the questions that I haven't asked in their head and preparing those answers, and I have to remind them that that's not why I'm in front of them. I had one organization tell me that for liability reasons, because there's no certifications or insurances or licenses or anything associated with Living&Active, because it is just a bunch of people joining together to meet each other and be friends and learn from each other in a very non-clinical, non-whatever environment, that they couldn't really uh, be involved in anything. I think the word they said was promote or sponsor or something like that. And I had to write an email back to people. It's like, look, you don't understand. It's kind of like Southwest Tech. I think you got the wrong message from the person I initially contacted. I'm not coming to you asking for you to sponsor this, or promote this, or do anything to add to it. I'm telling you it's already in place. This is what we're going to do. And so if you have anybody coming to you because of the services promised in the name of your organization, you can say, we don't do that, but here are some people who do. And if you want, I'll tell you how to find them and where to find them. That's all. That was understood the second or third time around. And so then that interaction actually ended up in a positive result of, oh, okay, good. You're not asking for us to add any more burden to the things we're already doing or our budget or anything else. It's very low impact, and this is something we can actually manage and still be supportive of the disabled community. And once they understood that, then they're like, sure, send us a flyer. And I did, and that's it. That's all that needed to happen. So it's things like that. Just, and that's why I'm not going to get into advocacy or anything else like that. Because the second people hear disability advocacy, they think I'm going to be going around taking measurements, making sure everybody's in ADA compliance, whatever that it gets expensive and confrontational. And I'm not. I don't want to do that to any of the communities that these groups are going to be in. So we're just not going to do it. We are not going to do that. We're not going to be affiliated with any of the groups that do. Um, we're always going to uh, we're always going. I keep saying we're. I'm the only one right now. I am going to make sure that the local leaders, business owners, uh, the people, the able-bodied people who are interested in seeing what can be learned from this, even with their misconceptions, don't have a reason to uh, to feel slighted in the process, or to have any kind of ill feelings against what we're trying to do, because there's nothing adversarial about it, but there does need to be boundaries set between what people usually try to turn these things into and what it needs to be in order to have the maximum benefit for the people it is intended to serve. So, no remote access to the live gatherings, uh, no sales pitches, no um, no ability expo type environments, nothing like that. Um, is just going to be um, and no mobilizing of activists in activism. Advocacy, sure. Activism, no. No. We don't need to be giving people any more reasons to be annoyed by us. So I'm going to say no, that's not going to be allowed. I hate the fact that we have to have rules, but we do, because we need to protect what we love. It's not about answering what we hate, it's about protecting what we love. And what I love is the opportunity, what looks like the opportunity for some very necessary healing to happen in the disabled community when it comes to how they interact with the communities they find themselves living in. And in these artificial disconnects that happen between people of different disabilities, just because we've been conditioned to think that we're all supposed to exist in our own little bubbles. And that's not the case. So that's the introduction to the Living and Active Live playlist. Like I said, if you go through this video, in the comments below, I've read your comments before I've answered them. So if you want, please feel free to leave feedback on how these videos at least can better serve you. And like I said, if the tubes of you ever grant me the ability to do lives, then those will be done from where I live or from wherever I happen to be, but they won't be done from Living and Active gatherings, because I don't want to take away from those environments and the people that are there. So live discussions. There's a very nice, already existing and very successful podcast type live feed done by a channel called Live to Roll. I enjoy their everything that they have set up. It is focused almost exclusively on people in wheelchairs, obviously because of the name Live to Roll, and their care providers and everything else and all the things that we go through. But if you just like those kinds of things, that's where to go. I'll put a link to it in the description below. But it's called, the channel itself is called Live to Roll, and that's on YouTube. So yeah, that's it. My coffee has stopped making noise. It's still percolating. Maybe it's making a little bit of noise. But anyway, it's time for me to go. My coffee's done. I need to drink some of it, and then I need to get back to the other stuff that I have not been doing today because I've been in bed all day feeling kind of down in the dumps. But it's getting late in the day. It's already almost 7:30, and if I don't want to get my neighbors annoyed at me for operating my vacuum cleaner too late in the day, then I need to get cracking. So anyway, that's the information. Leave comments below or wherever you find an interesting place to leave a comment. Anywhere on this channel, I will probably find it at some point, and we'll go on from there. So that's it. As I say on all my other content, remember Hebrews 11:6, without faith it is impossible to please God, because those who come to God must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of those who seek Him. And I say that for encouragement. If you are an unbeliever and disabled, it's not like you're going to be barred from participating in the work of this playlist on this channel. But I am going to let you know, because people need disclaimers and trigger warnings in this day. If you venture too far off of this playlist, actually if you venture off this playlist at all, I included that verse just so you know. The vast majority of the content on this channel does have to do with operating from the worldview of taking God at His every word and living according to Scripture. That's why this channel is called Living and Active. So that's why the groups are called Living and Active. Whether people on the outside get that or not, I don't care. But that's where the heart of this particular incomplete quadriplegic and chronic illness haver happens to be. And that is the basis on which I base my compassion for all people, not just the ones who get around the same way I do. So, anyway, until next time, if there is next time, and it might not be, God be with you.